Welcome back to the Adventure Athletes podcast, the #1 podcast in Wales for adventure athletes, sharing stories of those that are creating a difference within themselves to benefit others. In this week's episode, I sit down with Lloyd Watkin, a vegan ultra runner, and we talk about making fun of yourself when you're in a bad mood, picking events around family commitments, and creating balance in life between work, training, and family. At the end of each episode, we do set a weekly challenge, so feel free to get involved and tag us on your socials at the Adventure Athletes. Something I did as my own personal challenge last month was the 496 challenge. I did this as part of my fundraising effort to raise £10,000 for BigMoose. And then I just wanted to also do a side sort of shout out to a few people in this intro. So we've got Kingsley on Instagram, Stu O'Brien, a previous guest, and Steve, who is an avid listener of the podcast. Kingsley and Stu did the Arc of Attrition and completed it, and Steve unfortunately got a DNF at the event, but absolutely smashed it regardless. I just wanted to also shout out Andrew and Bob, both previous guests of the podcast, for their Brecon to Cardiff Ultra this weekend. So well done to all of those that took part in the events. Big shout out to those that are following the podcast and being part of the journey that I just gave a shout out to. I am still doing my BigMoose fundraising, so if you want to get involved in that and donate, every little bit helps, as everyone that fundraising says. But my donation link is in the description of this podcast. I am doing a weekly run as well in Pontyclean, so feel free to follow and get involved with that. It's £1 per run, and that will get you entry to the run, and all that money goes to BigMoose. And I've got some other big challenges on the way, so make sure you stick around to check them out. But for now, enjoy the podcast. So something I wanted you to do to introduce yourself. I don't usually get guests to do this, right, but I think because you are very humble in what you've done and you don't see yourself as having much to talk about, I want you to sort of verbalise what you have done to sort of hopefully make you realise why you're here. So can you just give us a list of everything that you've done race-wise and just adventure-wise, to be honest?
Adventure-wise, okay. See, so the first big thing I did was I cycled Land's End John O'Groats most of the way. I came off in Oban and smashed up my wrist. I think that was my right wrist, because I previously smashed up this one, so I'm mostly titanium from the elbow down. Then I used to go into OCR racing, so there was one down in Somerset which was dubbed the hardest OCR in the world, or in the UK or something like that. So I did that, then stopped exercising for a bit, or seriously, and then picked it up so my daughter was born in 2017, and I found myself saying in conversations I used to do that, I used to scuba dive, I used to do this military fitness, and so I was like, right, I'm going to give myself a year of being okay with that, and then while my daughter's really young, and then after that I'm going to start sort of doing things again, not being the person that used to do things. So I started running again, started doing calisthenics at home, so handstands, pull-ups, that kind of stuff. And then just found I could run further and further. So where I live in the valleys, you've got your front door, it's uphill or downhill, so you've got hill training built into it. I have a very demanding Welsh sheepdog as well, so I walk tons, that's where most of my training will come from. And then I entered my first ultra marathon. I entered the Gower Ultra Bach, which then got it was the Celtic Ultra which I entered, which got cancelled because of COVID. So I then went out that day and just ran a 32 mile by myself to see if I could do it, because I was I've done all training anyway. I then entered the Gower Ultra Bach, which was in July, I think, afterwards. And I was like, do you know what, I've done 32 by myself. There's nothing scary there now. I'll just go for the full 50. So I did the 50. I think I came 12th position in that, which I was what? Like, I was expecting to be last or something, and I was like, oh, I didn't do too bad there. And then since then I've done sort of multiple other ultra marathons, and then I joined a guy who was running the coast of England and Wales as an FKT, called Tom Crossland, and it was the first time I'd run with other sort of runners, and I just talking to him just really inspired me, and he was like, you know, just go and do it, like you don't have to be at the front, take your time, enjoy yourself. And I was like, okay. And then I remembered about this thing called the Marathon des Sables, and I was like, do you know what, I'm just going to go for it. So I did that last year. I also did, I think we were talking about the 4x4, I think that's amazing training, so I've done that 3 times. I've combined it with the Table Mountain Challenge in Crickhowell. I've done a couple of 100-milers, so the most recent one was the Black Beacon 100. That one had like, they've changed it, so it's like 7,500 meters of climbing, and I was like, that sounds awesome. Like anything that claims to be the hardest or the most something, it's like red rag to a bull. I just like there's a challenge, I want to see if I can measure up against it. Yeah. And I think I came 3rd in that event eventually. So again, I'm not fast, it's just hardly any people finished. So I was stubborn and didn't stop. And then this year in September I've got the Dragons back, so we'll see how I do there. Yeah.
So that's quite a list, and from the sounds of it, started your first ultra in 2020?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So 3 full years, basically, that you've done.
Yeah. And it's surprising when you look back how many races. I mean, I'm not one of those people that does like a race a month. I just enter things when either it's a race to help me train for a bigger race, or it just seems like fun. So Black Beacon 100, it was like, whoa, all that climbing. My first 100 was just because it was my first 100. It does add up. Like, I quite enjoy multi-days as well. They're quite fun because it's not just a race where you start with a bunch of people and then maybe you see 1 or 2 for the next like 6 hours. You get back together every night, and you have like Marathon Star was tent mates. When you do sort of other multi-days in the UK, you're in a big hall and you get to see people and like encourage them, and you always go out and clap the last person in. It's just a really good like atmosphere when you do those kind of things.
Yeah, that it's just like amazing how much you've managed to fit into 3 years, really.
Yeah, not bad.
not a bad little run there. Yeah. And you're still going, so that's always a positive.
I haven't broken yet. We'll see.
Not yet.
I'm getting older.
So what sort of got you into that mindset? What do you think is the main thing that's happened in your life that's given you the mindset of like, oh, that's the hardest thing?
What trauma are running away from? I think just I enjoy being active. I said when we were talking earlier, like my dad always took me hiking when I was a kid. I just enjoy being in the mountains and outside and doing stuff and achieving stuff and going for a challenge, like any big challenge out there, it's good to see if you can do it. Like pick something that you think is like achievable but maybe not, and just have a go. Like what I was saying to you earlier, what's the worst thing that can happen? You stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked it when you said off camera about if you fail something, people aren't going to be laughing at you in the street, being haha, you failed.
Yeah, so I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I think it said, like, there's, in life, when you get to the end, there's, like, 2 things. There's things you regret not doing, and there's things you regret doing. And, like, 76% of people regret not doing things rather than having done them, and the thing that stops most people doing them is fear. And it's fear of what though? Someone's going to laugh at you? Like, who's going to laugh at you? I tried to run 100 miles, I didn't get to the end. No one's going to go like, ha ha. Like, they're going to go like, wow, that's amazing, you tried that. Like with an ultra, no one asks you your time, no one cares. Like, they just are blown away by the distance. And so the only thing you're really protecting is your own ego, right? So when you look at it, so just go off and do it, and just, you know, forget your ego and just enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to get caught up in the numbers and stuff, and once you're in that world, like I can imagine the first time you did the ultra, because you did it on your own, you wasn't that fussed about the numbers. You was just like, right, I want to see if I can do this.
I'm never fussed about the numbers. Like, I have this thing where I try not to do the same race more than once, because like then you could maybe start, like if you did a 10k, road 10k every month, right, you have got a number to compare yourself to, and then maybe you'd be like, oh, I ran a 40 minute 10k, but I was 10 seconds slower than last time, and you'd like kill yourself over it. Like, why do that to yourself? Like, it's amazing you can run a 40 minute 10k. So by doing different races, you don't have something to compare yourself to. Like, you can just go out and enjoy it and not worry about the time. And well, I mean, even then, like with a trail run where there's different levels of mud, so you can never quite compare. And I've forgotten where I was going with that.
Do you ever set yourself a goal for these races? Then do you ever have like a rough time in mind? Or
so my first goal is just complete it. Like, so just be stubborn enough to get to the end. Sometimes I'll look at a route and think 6 hours should be doable for this one, or I'll look at like other people's times, like maybe people I know, or just like the average time, and go like, well, maybe I'll like set myself a goal of doing that. But again, I don't want to fixate on a number, because I'm out there to enjoy being outside and having an adventure. Like, why upset myself because I got 5 hours 32 versus 5 hours 28?
Yeah. How would you sort of go about helping someone that is sort of stuck in the numbers game? Because I know for me personally, I've done the OTT Ultra, and I've done it twice. Once was in 2019, and then I broke my ankle, and then I did it again last year. So the numbers weren't really like, comparing them was like two completely different things. Yeah. But in my head I was like, I think I should be able to do this in less than 6 hours. And then like the first time I did it 1 minute of the cut-off, so I was like 9 hours 59 minutes, and then this time I did it 8 hours 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, really big improvement, but it's not less than 6 hours.
Well, I mean, some people do like the numbers, right? So I only know my experience. I can't tell someone that's fascinated with the goal of a certain time how not to be like that. I think just concentrating on enjoying the experience, like, doesn't mean when I go out, it doesn't mean like I'm like dawdling and taking my time. Like, I want to go out and not be shit, right? I want to give it. I will hear like voices during a race behind me that encourages me to run faster, and I look behind me and there's no one for miles. So my brain is telling me to do that as well. But it doesn't mean that I necessarily care about the end time. It's just I want to go out and give it my all. But if my all is 8 hours or my all is 6 hours, it doesn't matter, right? As long as I feel like I've given it everything, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And in these events, there are going to be times, like we were saying, where you're really questioning what you're doing and like why you're doing it.
Yeah.
How do you get through
that? So I think we said earlier, like when you do an ultra, you go through periods of up, periods of down, and the longer you go, what you realise is you go through multiple of those. Eventually, you get to the point where you know if you just keep going through the bad time, maybe eat a bad bit of food, like you will get through that, and that carries over into life as well. Then, so you just, if you're going through a bad period with work or whatever, like just keep going. You try and solve a problem, like you will get there eventually, and just having that confidence in yourself, like however bad you feel, just keep walking, just keep moving. You will get there, and it will get better at some point. Maybe that point is the finish line, but that's still going to get better.
Yeah. Is it any different because you've done like the 100 milers?
Yeah.
Is that any different to doing like the Marathon des Sables, where it's like multi-day, you have to get out the next day and do it again?
Yeah, so they're different. They're hard in different ways, right? So with 100, you just keep going and going and going. With the harder thing about a multi-day is you get a lot more time to recover, but then you have to get up the next morning with achy legs and start going again. So very different challenges. I suppose does. I mean, with the marathon style, it's not like you're at home and you have to get back out and do the next day of the 496, right? Because you're there, like you're stuck there, to some respect. So that makes it a bit easier, but yeah, it's just different. They're different hard in different ways. Like,
how do you deal with it mentally, like differently in those situations? Say you're like going through that bad phase in the 100-miler, you might be coming into a checkpoint and you're like, I could give up here if I needed to, compared to the other like multi-days where it's like, I can definitely give up because I haven't started this day yet.
Yeah, so when I enter these things, like, I don't even entertain giving up. Like, I've entered this, I've paid for this, I'm doing it. Like, and I think, and if I feel really, really shit, what I will do is I will walk it, and if I feel good, I will run it. But I am not stopping. Like, that doesn't even come in. I mean, I've done ultras where I've been messaging friends, go like, I'm gonna drop out. I feel like shit. This is the worst thing of my entire life. And then, like, 5 miles later, I'm like, hey, I'm having a great time, and off I go, kind of thing. But again, that's about pushing through, right? I may have been texting, going like, I'm going to drop out, I feel awful, and that's like your kind of conscious brain. But my own conscious brain is like, the hell you are, boy, you're walking, like, you are doing this, whatever happens. And the way I'm pulling out is if I physically can't move or I am pulled out because of time.
Yeah. Something Grant said to me was, you can bitch and moan as much as you like and entertain the thought of giving up all day long, as long as you don't give up.
Yeah.
Like, you just got to keep going. You chose to be there.
Yeah, so, like, sometimes, with your partner, like, you're just, like, sometimes you just need to vent. You don't want a response to it. Like, the venting of the problem solves the problem in some respects. Like, you feel better about it. Like, one of my favourite things to do is when I have my really low moments in ultra, is I'll record a video making fun of myself about how grumpy I feel. So, like, if you've ever seen any, like, Instagram stories of me, now and again I'll, like, poke my tongue out myself in a little story, just make fun of yourself. Like, you're having a laugh, like, you feel like crap, but you just carry on. And
yeah. I think that's a great way to do it. It's just like, oh, fuck, I feel like shit, I don't want to do this anymore. What can I do? Like, what are you moaning for? Like, here's a video of me being grumpy, and then you start to realise, like, how stupid you sound almost.
Yeah, exactly. Like, like, you've put yourself in this situation. Like, you're here to have fun, and you're feeling crap. But like, think about how you'll feel in an hour's time. Like, you'll probably feel amazing. Just carry on, have a laugh, feel grumpy for a bit, eat some food, you'll be fine.
Yeah. I think that could be like a good technique for not just doing these sorts of events, but just in general. Like, if you're feeling grumpy and you're like moaning about stuff constantly, just like record yourself moaning about it, watch it back and be like, am I just being an idiot? Like,
yeah, don't forget to have a laugh in life. Like, if you're doing anything and it's really that bad and you can't get out of it, or you there's no way to change that to get out, just get out of it. Like, finish off, do it. But if like pushing through and there is a better thing, you're like a bad relationship, right? You don't carry on pushing because it's never going to get better, right? You take yourself out of that. Like, remove the bad stuff from your life. In a race, like, you will feel better later. It might be during that race, it might be the finish line when you like feel amazing for achieve something. So it is worth pushing, but yeah, just enjoy yourself as well.
Yeah, I don't know if this is just the people I hang around with or if this is just people in general, but I found myself falling into this as well, where I would just be moaning constantly. Like, no matter what's going on around me, I'd always find something to moan about, and I was trying, like, it was almost like I was searching for something to complain about and be like, oh, I hate this, like, this is annoying me, this isn't going right. And like, my thing this year is I'm trying to be more positive.
It is though. It's a practice thing, right? So if you practice being miserable or moaning, you will continue being miserable. And if you practice trying to be more grateful and appreciating things, or trying to find humor in everything, you will find more humor in everything. You will find more gratitude in things. So, you know, a lot of people do like gratitude journaling at the end of the night to remind themselves of all the good stuff rather than concentrate on the bad stuff. And it is really important. Like, mindfulness and mindset is so powerful.
Yeah, something that I wanted to share on this topic. I heard Jimmy Carr say this. I don't know. I know you listen to a lot of podcasts. So I don't know if you listened to this one. And he said, it's fine to be in a bad mood, but if you find yourself in a bad mood, like majority of the time, you're not in a bad mood. You're just a dick.
yeah, that sounds pretty good.
I was just, when I heard that, I was like, oh fuck, am I a dick? Like maybe that's the issue. I'm just being a dick.
But that's fine. Like, as long as if you understand that and can reflect on it, like, you can start changing it, right? If you were being a dick but you didn't realize you were being a dick, that's the problem.
Yeah.
So you can't change it.
So coming back to like the ultras and stuff, then, like, every ultra is like this massive experience at the end of the day, isn't it?
It is and it isn't. Like, I've got to the point now where I you know, when you do your first, well, actually, like, going back to the first time I ever ran, like, my first 5k race was this massive experience. I raised loads of money for charity, and it was like, oh my god, crazy running a 5k, right? And then you look back a couple of years later and you're like, when you're doing half marathons or whatever, and you're like, that was nothing, that's not a big deal. Like, and I'm at the point now where with an ultra, but also, like, the problem is with a lot of these things, you build them up in your head and they become big, scary, hard things, right? But if you don't see them as that, you take away a lot of the difficulty of it. So like, I used to, the first couple of ultras, I packed my bag like a week before and repacked and unpacked, and it was like, realistically, there's not that much stuff in there. And these days I'm like, I pack the night before, maybe like once I put the kids to bed at 8 o'clock, I'll start packing, because I've got all the stuff, right? Unless there's, you know, it's a special race and I need to make sure I've got some extra stuff. Like, I've got all the stuff, and, you know, I can pop to Tesco and get some extra food if I need to. And so it's like taking away some of the scary bits of it as well. It kind of makes it a bit easier. Like, I'm a bit not blasé, because I do put the effort in, but also, like, not putting something on like an unachievable pedestal that you are scared of. Like, just going out and enjoying yourself. I think that's the important thing.
Yeah. What has been the hardest one of your challenges so far then?
Interesting. So I did the South Canham, which is a bizarre one to find the hardest, but this is the one I was talking about, where I was messaging my friend and bitching. It was my last big training run before marathon start, so I had like as much of my gear on as possible. I had like 12-kilogram backpack, but I wasn't used to running on the flats, and I don't know what happened, but the first like 3k my feet went completely numb, as in I could hardly walk on them, because I just couldn't feel them, and I had like a bad stomach. Like, that was meant to be like, this is the day, like, everything comes together and you, like, everything goes perfect, and everything just fell to shit within like the first 5. I had like people, there was some guys doing, I don't know if they did like the slam, but they were wearing like army Bergens, and they were like yomping it, and like they passed me, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, and yeah, so that was really hard. And like, yeah, again, sort of an hour later, I take some caffeine pills, and I was like flying through the checkpoints at the time of my life. But I think the other hardest one was the long day on the marathon sub. So that was the day I was really looking forward to, actually. That was the one I was really, more than anything. And on the days leading up to it, I'd stopped eating. So I took the minimum calories I could, which was 2,000 a day, but I was having overnight oats for breakfast. And what I didn't think about before I went there is I'd put raisins in for a bit of sweetness. But because it was so hot, they were sort of semi-fermenting during the night. So I'd wake up and have this mildly alcoholic porridge for breakfast. So like after day 2, I was like, I just cannot eat this. So I was down like 800 calories a day. So, and then you're doing these sort of, the first 3 days were like 20-something miles in the heat. So you're burning a lot of calories and not taking that many in. So I got to the long day quite depleted, and then I got caught up in like my own ego of like, this is the one I'm looking forward to, this is what I'm going to give it, and it was the hottest day. I think I gave it a bit too much. It got into the night time, and like I could feel the temperature dropping, but not that much. But I like physically was not cooling down. I got some sort of like heat exhaustion. I was really struggling. I'd ignored my feet earlier in the day, so they'd started filling up with sand, and I'd started getting the blisters, and I was just in one hell of a state. It's the first time I've ever stopped at a checkpoint, and I actually had like 2 10-minute naps at different checkpoints, and I just wasn't cooling down. I was like, I've got 26 miles to go. No, it can't be that. Like 10 miles to go. I'm just gonna have to walk this, and just like I had like tiny little head torch light. I was getting towards the end because of all the sand in the air. I'd start getting nosebleeds, and so that was quite bad. But with marathon time, you've got to carry everything you've got. So every time I used shoving a bit of toilet paper up my nose, that was less toilet paper for using it for the toilet. So you're also thinking about all these other things, like, oh, well, I've got a really good watch when I use the toilet next, that I don't use too much paper. And then you've got like hygiene worries. So I was like not just worried about my physical state, I was worried about the impact that would have on like that evening and the next day and the next day as well. So I was really struggling at that point. But again, like I pulled out my camera because I was recording videos of my kids all the way through, and I was like saying, like, well, you wanted to do hard things, Lloyd. You're doing a hard thing. Right at the end, like, stuck my tongue out of the camera and then put it away, and I was like, right, you just gotta head down. You're not stopping. You're not finishing. You're not stopping. You're not quitting. You are just gonna carry on. You're not, like, what's the worst thing that can happen? I press the emergency button, a helicopter or a Land Rover turns up, it's all over. Like, nothing that bad is going to happen.
Yeah. With these videos you take, are they just for like you at the time? Do you watch back on them, or do you like make a little like compilation at the end?
So for Marathon to Saab, I specifically made videos for the kids because I wanted them to. I mean, they haven't watched them yet. My daughter's too young, and my son's becoming a teenager, so I think he's Daddy, you're uncool. But I made it for them, so maybe in in a few years' time they can watch it, and it's all telling them, because I've like growing up, my dad was always like my superhero. Like, he could do anything, like build stuff. He would take walking in the mountains. He'd always find it easy, or seem to find it easy, and I want to not be their superhero, but be someone that they can look at and go like, well, if that idiot can do it, then I can do these things, and like that allow them to do more in life than maybe they thought they were capable of. But during an ultra in the UK, I'll just make videos because they're in, like, people do watch them and are as much as I hate the thought of people being inspired by the things I do, people are inspired by the things you do, and if that encourages one other person to maybe get out for a run or go for a walk or change something, like, start reading a book, or just to do something, then that's really cool. And I think if I can ever be in a position where I can help someone make their life better, I think that's amazing. And sometimes those little videos do. I mean, in the same way that I watch other people's videos and get inspired, I would like to do that for other people as well.
Why do you hate the idea of things that you can do can inspire other people? Why does that bug you a bit?
More sort of me being an inspiration, just because I don't think I am. I just do these things. I'm not the fastest. I look at friends of mine that run half-hour 10Ks, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. That's really hard. I could never do that. And I don't see the things I do as being that difficult, even though if I look at it objectively, yes, they totally are. But from my perspective, because I've just got there slowly over years, and they're just stuff I do, it is just stuff I do. It's not necessarily doesn't really seem that amazing to me.
Yeah. What would you need to do then for you to consider yourself like among that standard of inspirational people? Like, what would it be for you that, like, where you look back and be like, you know what, like, I am that person?
I don't think I'd ever get there. Like, I'm kind of like a growth mindset person, right? So when you achieve something, there's always something else to do. And like with the ultras right now, I'm really pushing on something that I'm doing okay at. So it's not, you know, like the real big growth comes from pushing at things you're not good at, right? Or things you find particularly hard. But with the ultras, like I've reached the point now where I think, to a certain extent, as long as I run slow enough or within my means, I could probably, and I eat enough food, I could probably keep going for quite a while. So yeah, I'm not sure what I think my one of my targets for this year is to run a sub 25k. To me, that's more impressive than doing like the ultras right now, because that's something I would really have to work at to do. But then when I do that, like sub 20k is like the norm, isn't it? So it's not really that inspiring either. But yeah.
So you think that sort of like the shorter but faster distances are harder than longer distances?
In different ways, right? So there are different challenges. In the same way that doing an Ironman is hard in ultra, but in all different ways. In the same way that getting up on stage and reading a poem is hard in different ways, right? They're all different ways. But for me personally, going out and trying to do a 20 minute sub 25k would be more difficult than doing an ultra at this point in my life.
Yeah. What sort of is the biggest challenge in your mind then, something that you really want to achieve? Because I know you said the sub 25k, but then you've started listing other things that could also be very challenging. So it doesn't have to even be sports related.
No. Like I just love a challenge. So if someone puts a challenge there, like a few probably getting on for 10 years ago now, like I had the idea that I'd like to write a book. So I like got so it's a technical book, so it's not one that normal people would read. But I just tried to do that to see if I could do it, and it was horrible. I hated it, and I never want to do it again. But I have now written a book, and you know, just learning a skill. Like, you know, there's so many things you can do as long as you're like always trying new things. And I always tell the kids, like, they're like, oh, I don't want to do that, I don't like it. So you've never done it, try it. And if you don't like it, you never ever have to do it again, because you know that you don't like it, right? But there's no point thinking you won't like it and not trying it.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about your book at all? Like what is the book?
It's about a messaging protocol.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite niche. I think like I get quarterly statements, and I think it sells like one a month on average, and the company will never get my forward back in terms of value. So yeah.
Fair enough. I've written a book as well, and again, it's very niche. It's all about coaching handstands.
Oh, okay. I could do some of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I've like 10-second handstands about my best.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's alright, but because I have the metal wrists, I think I find it a bit difficult, and small hands, so I think I find it difficult to do in bands. So I've got a calisthenics coach down in Neath, so we do all that kind of stuff like handstands. I want to do another goal this year is an L-sit to handstand.
Nice.
Yeah, it's quite. I like to set these big goals, because I figure with that one, right, even if I don't achieve it, being able to achieve the parts of it, like an L-sit, a push-up, handstand push-up, like they're amazing goals in themselves, like with the overarching thing of trying to get to the bigger one.
Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it, is setting a goal so big that you just learn something, even if you fail.
But if it's a goal that's achievable, like easily achievable, or you know, without putting much effort in, it's not a goal, is it?
Yeah.
It's just something you're going to do. So you need to set something that's slightly, you know, beyond your means at this current time. So you do have to work for it.
Yeah. Do you have sort of like a process in your head when you're setting goals, or is it just like, I've seen this, I'll do that?
Pretty much that.
Okay.
If something catches my attention or catches my imagination, that's the thing I'll go for. I mean, a few years ago, I decided, I think YouTube threw a few calisthenics videos at me, and I was like, the things these people are doing are amazing. Like, I would love to be able to do that, and that started that whole journey. And in the same way, like, I saw a video about marathon style as a kid, and I was like, I remember saying to myself as a kid, like, I could never do that. I would love to do that. And then, you know, at one point going like, you know what, why not let him just go for it?
Yeah. So then, what's, like, with all the challenges you've done so far, what's been your favourite and why?
Interesting. I think probably the Black Beacon 100, actually, just because I was so dead. I think something my wife said to the boy a few years ago was like, why'd you go? He says, like, why'd you go out running all the time? And my wife said, well, you know, you enjoy playing on the tablet. He's like, well, Lloyd enjoys being miserable, or like, or suffering, or something to that. And I do. I enjoy the suffering. Like, that's really. And on the Black Beacon, I was coming to some of those climbs at the end. Like, you could, it was so much effort just to take one step up a hill, and I just being like that, that empty, but still like finding the mental and physical will to push on. I think because at that point, like, you are growing, you are really learning about yourself, and it's only through like difficulty that you do that. And I felt like I really grew as a person, and because of that, like type 2 fun, I really appreciate and enjoyed that experience.
Is that a sort of trait that you've had to teach yourself? Is that something you've actively put effort into?
No, I don't think so. I think I've always enjoyed like doing difficult things. I think, or like work. I mean, even in my job, like, I enjoy pushing too hard at my job as well. There is something amazing about doing hard things. I really enjoy that. Like, we go on holiday, I can't sit by a beach, I can't sit by a pool, like, I have to do something. So yeah, I think just that's how some people work. Different people work in different ways, and that just happens to be my way.
Yeah. Do you see that in your kids as well, or not so much?
My daughter, yeah, she is non-stop. Like, we got a gym membership for her in order to calm her down, and if anything, we are creating a monster. She does, like, she'll go on a Sunday, she'll do like 3 hours of pony club, which is like essentially shoveling shit, but paying to do it. And then she'll be taken to the gym, she'll do an hour of gymnastics followed by an hour of yoga, and then into the swimming pool, and she is still like ready to go. It's nuts. She's definitely the boy, not so much. Like, he's more into his computers, but then that's what I was like as a teenager, so I can't knock it. But yeah, that's his thing at the minute. And like, I was sporty in my early teens. I used to do a lot of judo and rugby, and then through like my mid-teens, I was all computers and tech, and then only came back to sports sort of like later in life, partly through kind of wanted to lose weight, be fit. I always just continue going out hiking all the time, but like to start doing those like harder things again.
Yeah.
So like I'm sure I'll come back to it at some point, especially because as you know, when you're surrounded by people that do those things, like if he sees me doing them, maybe one day he'll go like, oh, can I come out for a run with you, can I come out with a hike with you, and you know, and I think it's really important to do that, because being outside is so good for your mental health. So as he's growing up, like, you know, if he's having hard times, he will realize that you can go out for a walk or a run or a cycle or a kayak or a rock climb and help himself feel a lot better.
Yeah. So you've already said Dragon's Back is on your list as your next thing.
Yeah.
Is that the next thing that's booked, or is that like something that's a bit later
that's
on?
Like I don't do the whole like A race, B race thing, but that's my big thing for the year. Before that, I've got Jurassic Coast Challenge, which I kind of looking forward to it. So that's 3 days, roughly a marathon a day, lots of climbing and stuff like that. So I also like when I've picked a big race for the year, I will try and do stuff that will help me with various aspects of that. So like before I did Marathon des Sables, I did a 100-miler, because I thought if I can do a 100-miler, then any distance on the Marathon des Sables is going to be fairly okay. I do multi-day races to get me into the multi-day mindset, and then I started like going out and running laps down in Merthyr Mawr on the sand, like every few weeks. And Jurassic Coast Challenge is a lot of up and down, so it's good for the kind of climbing. It's multi-day again. Then in at the start of February, there's the 4x4x48 again, so I'll be combining that with Table Mountain 5. Then in May, I'm doing the Paddy Buckley round, but over 3 days. So that's one of the 3 big UK rounds. There's Paddy Buckley, the Bob Graham, and the Scottish one I can never remember the name of. But it's a sort of 24-hour 60-mile challenge, but I'll do it over 3 days. So just again, more time in the kind of day 1, day 2 of Dragon's Back, and then 2 weeks later I'm going back up to do the Welsh 3000s again. Again, just more time in that kind of terrain to get me used to it.
Yeah.
And then I think that's everything I've got planned, but I am kind of tempted to maybe last minute enter Epona, if it's still got places left, or maybe like do the Dragon 100 again, again just for getting that time on feet and get my legs conditioned ready for the big stuff.
Yeah. Do you see yourself doing something that's not running related in the future, like any big events? Do you have anything that you've sort of seen and been like, oh, I want to give that a go?
Years and years ago, I discovered the Norseman Ironman.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's an Ironman, maybe just long form triathlon. But like they take you out on a ferry into this middle of the lake in Norway or somewhere, and you jump off the back of the ferry, swim to the shore, and then you get on the bike. That always really appealed to me, just nuts. But I found out you've got to qualify for that, so maybe I can't see myself getting into triathlon. I've done one before, but when I bought a new bike actually a few years ago, that my wife shouted to me because I think I've ridden it like twice. The problem with the triathlons, a lot of them are like loops, or they're like, it's like a road run with bits. I would really like, if I was going to do triathlons, I would want to do them out in like Snowdonia or across the beacons or something, like being out proper outdoors, not just like in a road race, but with 3 different events built into it.
Yeah. Have you seen I think they're like adventure triathlons, where instead of swimming it's like kayaking? Yeah. Do you know if they're similar, or are they trails as well?
They're trails as well, yeah. There's quite a few, like when you really start looking into things, there's so many nuts trails. There's like have you seen the 3 peaks where you like sail between the 3? When you start getting into ultras, right, and you think, I've reached a whole new level of crazy, and that's it, the pinnacle. And then you learn about other events, like even harder ultras, like the 100 milers, then 200 milers, then 240 milers, then the Spine last week. And then there's like the Self-Transcendence race in New York, which is 3,200 miles around like a block in New York.
Oh my god.
Yeah. There's always another level or something different, and then you can always go off and Hardest Geezer's now running. He's getting towards the end of his Africa run. It seems wrong to call it a run, but his adventure, there's a proper adventure racing. We can pay and go across South America. Like there's always different things you can try, and harder in some respects, but there's all out there if you really want to look for it.
Yeah, and any of them catch your eye? Anything that you've really looked at and been like, I really want to do that?
No, but if someone sat there and put it in front of me, like it's a case, it's time, money, and things like that. There's only so much time to it. Like I've got young families and a fairly demanding job. Like you have to balance all these things, right? I think you get to the point in life where you realise you can't do everything, or you will almost die trying, or you know, beat yourself up for not being able to do everything. And it's realizing what you can do, or prioritizing what you want to do and doing those things.
Yeah. How do you go about prioritizing it? What goes through your head when trying to decide whether you are or aren't going to do an event? Or
asking my wife if I'm allowed to. I mean, I joke, like, it is really, like, you know, I said to her this year, like, I'm trying to decide between these. I want to do one of these 2 races. I'm going to do one of them. Like, let's work out what works best for us. Like, if I was trying to decide between Wild Horse 200 and Dragon's Back. The reason Dragon's Back came up this year, I had a couple of friends doing it, so I was like, well, it's nice to go and have that time with them. You know, the camaraderie is always really nice. But they'd actually told me that they wanted me to do Wild Horse so they could crew me and they would get the experience of doing it, but not actually doing it.
Yeah.
But so if I do Wild Horse, you know, I'm going to be maybe ruined for a week afterwards, and I'm going to have to go on, you know, a fair number of long runs. If I do Dragon's Back, I'm going to have to go for weekends away up to North Wales to get some training time in. And, like, working out, like, what worked with our family. And ultimately, it's like, well, you can do one, you know, you can have time to do one, it's not a problem. And it's like, then I found out more friends are doing Dragon's Back, and that kind of decided it this year for me. But yeah, just, I mean, everyone, I could tell you what my priority and the way I make choices are, but everyone is going to be different. You just have to work out what's the best for you, and also the best for people around you if you've got families and stuff. Like,
yeah, I think that's, like, the best way to look at it is, like, in this podcast, we're not trying to give people, like, the tools to, like, do everything themselves. We're not like, this is how you do this, this and this. This is like, well, this is how I approach it.
Yeah.
And then if that works for you, great. It might give someone that idea of, like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is how he prioritizes his races. And then also when you said about you can't do everything, like, you have to accept that at some point. I think that's more the message from, like, this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, if you could give me, you know, 64 hours a day, and 3 times my salary and 8 times my days off, you know, I would do everything. But that also, everything you do is a compromise, right? If I go off to do Dragon's Back for a week, I'm not going to see my kids for a week. I'm not going to properly speak to my wife. I am taking away a week's holiday that we could go on together. Like, but also when I come back from that, I'm hopefully going to be a better dad and a better husband, because I've, like, had this amazing adventure. I've had my downtime. I've de-stressed. Like, could be more present for them as well. So, yeah, you need to be there and giving everything, but you also looking after yourself is quite important, and realize, you know, everything feeds into it. Like, if you go off on a long run on a Saturday, you're going to come back and you're going to be a nicer person around the family, and if you don't go and do those things, you're going to be a dick and a grumpy sod. So, like, you know, you've got to, like, everything is give and take, and positives and negatives. So
yeah, it's finding that balance, and I think that's what a lot of people find difficult, myself being, like, number one on that list of finding that difficult.
Yeah, I mean, like, a balance isn't necessarily, like, a fixed thing. Like, you don't have to be in the middle. Like, sometimes you can be to one side, and sometimes, you know, like, if I go off and do this big race, like, it might be that I have to lay off running for a few weeks to be more present for my family, to, like, make up for the time that I've been away, and that's cool. Like, you can't be, and you know, you'll never be in the middle all the time. Like, it's always going to swing about.
Yeah. What advice would you give to younger you? Like, if you could go back in time, give one piece of advice.
How young?
Let's go, like, 18.
18.
So transitioning into, like, going out into the real world.
Stop drinking, I think, would be the big thing. it's same with ultra running. Ultra running is probably just another addiction for me, right? So I don't have an off switch with anything I do. Like I am, if I'm doing something, I'm 100%. So I used to go out and get so drunk, and still even now, like I don't drink, but now and again I will have a drink to remind myself why I don't drink. And the level of stuff that I get out of life now that I was wasting away through blackouts and not remembering stuff and being an idiot is so much better. Like I get so much more out of life now, and I feel so much better all the time. So maybe not stop, but maybe like rein it in and realize how much more you can do with your life than just doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'm seeing something pop up a lot on social media now, which is a lot of people that were like heavy on the party scene. It's becoming almost cliche for them to then get into like ultra running and going out like mountaineering and stuff. And I think it's like the best cliche there is.
It is, yeah. Like I was talking to someone that's very big in the marathon, so I've seen this guy called Rory Coleman lives down in Cardiff, and he's run it like 14 times or something ridiculous now. And I did a training day with him before I went, and he was like, "Oh, tell me about yourself." And I like listed out the thing. Oh no, and I think he said like, "Let me guess, you are early 40s, you have an office job," like, and he went through the list, and it was like a bingo card of like for all the things like, and you like. Because when you start ultra running, you think, "Oh, I'm special. Like I'm doing this," and then actually you turn up at these things and you realize like everyone there is pretty much exactly like they're running away from like being overweight, drinking too much, divorce, but you're pretty much fit in a very similar bucket. Like, yeah, it's quite funny.
Just we should make like a little ultra tick list.
Yeah.
How many of these boxes do you tick off?
Yeah, your scorecard, and you've got to run a mile for every box you tick or something.
I think we should actually do that. I think that'd be a great little idea. That'll be quite fun. I'm gonna make that now. It's all gonna be credited to you, mind. So then, with that then, something that I want to introduce to this podcast, and I have in the past a couple of episodes, by the time this one's released, is introducing a challenge from the guest for the listeners for that week. So, yeah, what would you set the challenge? So the few that I've had so far is we had one where it was join a running club, or any sort of club, just join a club. We had one where it was visit a trig point, so that was quite an interesting one. I was excited for that. And then the last one would be run 1.5 miles for time.
Ooh, okay. Okay. So the one thing that really changed everything for me was during lockdown. My wife is at home, the kids are at home, and we were like trying to work out how we're gonna. So I've always worked from home, so had like lockdown was like nothing's changed apart from supermarkets are nicer to visit. But like she was going batshit crazy because the kids are screaming all day, and like she because I was in work, like she was the one that was stuck with them, and I used to take the dog out for a walk at lunchtime. And I was like, well, we can't carry on doing this. Like, you need some downtime as well. So I started getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and going out for 2.5 hours with the dog. And that I did that every single day for a couple of years. And that's where a lot of my base fitness came from. But I would get home at 8 o'clock in the morning. I would feel amazing because I'd done this like big walk. I'd been out I was one of those annoying people. I get up 5 o'clock and like, oh, you all lazy people looking up now. But I tell you what, I felt absolutely amazing. So maybe the challenge for me would be to get up early one morning, go out for like an hour and a half, and get that walk in before you start your day, before the kids get up, before you start work for the day, and see how you feel.
Amazing. I think that'll be a great challenge.
I can't do it anymore. I did it for 2 years. I can't get my ass out of bed. My life's changed now, so my wife actually works nights, so like I'm number one with the kids in the morning, so like I couldn't possibly do that in my life right now. But But yeah, it was a nice thing to do at the time because there was a good need, but I did feel like amazing. I wish I could force myself out of bed to do like a quick training session before everyone gets out of bed at the moment, but because you do feel so good, like having done your hard thing for the day. So there's the phrase, which is not very vegan of me, but it's called "eat the frog." So the idea is that if you have something hard to do that day, and eat the frog is the thing. Rather than spend all day worrying about eating the frog, like just do it right at the start of the day, like eat your frog. So go out for your run, go out, jump on the turbo trainer, do your weight session like first thing in the morning, and then like for the rest of the day you don't have to worry about doing the hard thing. It's already done, out of the way.
Yeah, I think that's some great advice there. I think that's a great way to wrap up the podcast, and I want to put it out there that if anyone is going to join in with the challenge, if you want to really go for it, I would say get up early every day for the week rather than just the one day. So
go big or go home.
Yeah. So extending the challenge out every day for a week, get up early, get your workout in before you start the rest of your day.
That sounds good. And post it on social media. Be that annoying person. So you might encourage someone else to do it, but it also gives you accountability, right? So that's the big thing. So say you're going to do it and post it every morning.
And tag Adventure Athletes, because I'll be on your back. If you posted like 4 days being like, yeah, I've been up early, on day 5 I'll be there being like, where's your post today? Yeah. Are you up? Like, what's going on?
A bit late by that point, but yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks
thank you for coming
me.
on. Yeah, thank you for sharing your very humble experience, and thinking that you don't have anything to share. I know that was like one of the first things you said to me when I asked you to come on was, I don't think I've got much to say, but if you want, I'll come on.
To say, I'm not sure I've got much to share.
I think you're doing amazing things, so yeah, keep going, and I'm excited to follow your journey. If other people do want to follow you, where can they find you?
I am the very imaginatively named Lloyd Watkin on all the things, so it's quite easy to find me. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you again, and thanks for listening to this episode of the Adventure Athletes podcast. If you like this episode, make sure you follow us on Instagram, Spotify and YouTube, and share our content around. It helps more than you can ever imagine. Now, if there's a person in particular that you want to hear from, or a topic that you want us to cover, just drop us a message, let us know in our DMs, and we'll make sure we try and reach out to the relevant people to cover that topic for you. We're always trying to make content that you guys want to listen to. We have just dropped our website. It's adventureathletes.co.uk, and you can go on there to find out the range of different services we offer. So we have sports massage, different training programs, and personal training, both online and in person, that you can sign up to on the website. So make sure you go and check us out at adventureathletes.co.uk.